Catherine Goshen, a professional astrologer, and this is the forecast for Virgo 2025. So welcome here, Virgo suns, welcome here, Virgo rising. Lots of changes coming up in 2025, and following on from what's been going on in 2024 since Jupiter moved into your house of work in May of 2024. You've had far more energy coming into the job you do, coming into your career, coming in and bringing abundance, bringing the ability to maneuver yourself a little bit at work. So there's been more flexibility, and also potentially highlighting one of your parents. So this continues all the way until June 10 of 2025. Work continues to grow. You're putting your energy there. Good things are coming out of it. And then after June, Jupiter is going to move into a very positive place where you can reap some of the rewards, some of that hard work you've been putting in for the last year. And there'll be a focus on greater community. There'll be a focus on friendships blossoming, and there'll be a focus on real growth of your ideals, of your hopes. They're going to be coming to fruition as Jupiter will be traveling through your solar 11th house from June of 2025 until July of 2026. So lots to look forward to in that area, Virgo. And right now it might feel as if there's almost too much going on. If you're not working, you could be very, very busy just with being out and about, having things to attend to. Many people are extremely busy helping others, and they don't get paid for what they do. So this is a time of growth in the area of doing, really. And one needs to welcome that in, because everything has its time, everything has its place. The other changes for 2025 are going to be 3 different slow-moving planets changing signs. They are going to dip into a new sign and then dip back into where they've been. So only by 2026 will you feel the full effects of this. So 2025 will be like a preview, and I ask you to make a note of specific dates so you can get a taste. The first of those planets will be Saturn. Saturn is going to move from Pisces, where it's been since March of 2023, in your house of relationships. If you're in a permanent relationship, such as marriage, maybe your partner's been going through a difficult time for the past short while, or you've been working on your relationship, or you've got married, there's been a cementing of the relationship. Maybe you've met a partner, someone a little bit older than you, you're settling down. Whatever's been happening, you'll feel the first shift of that around May of 2025, when Saturn moves into Aries. And it's going to be joined by Neptune, which is also leaving Pisces. And for you, Virgo, the area of your chart where both Saturn and Neptune will end up being for many years is an area which is going to allow you to go deeper into the self. I see increased interest in either astrology or occult studies, yoga, tai chi, alternative healing, whatever it is that you are fascinated with, that's going to really receive attention over the next while, especially from 2026, when both those planets are going to hook up in that house of yours and ask you to structure those alternative interests that you have. How can you bring them more into your daily life? How can you make them concrete? The other effect that these planets could have on your life is that it's time to look at joint finances. So this could be finances you have with your partner, your spouse, or with a business partner, or simply something like a property that is shared by the family. It's going to come under the spotlight over the next many years. We're talking 10 or more years. But as those planets enter in, they're going to dip in middle of 2025, stay for a few months, then dip out, come back in 2026. Pay attention to money matters, especially money that is shared. The other planet that will be changing signs will be Uranus, this planet that brings great change, spiritual enlightenment, if we may call it that, or a spiritual awakening. We've been feeling uncertain for a few years, and Uranus comes in strongly to connect with us. In your case, it's going to be squaring your sun when it moves into Gemini in July of 2025. It's also going to be moving into your 10th solar house of work. So lots of electricity, excitement, change available for your work, your job, your career, your status. Maybe you're going to get a surprise green card, who knows? Something is in the works there, and flexibility is the key word. Also using more technology at work. That's coming in strongly. And really connecting with your authentic self. When Uranus squares our sun, we are asked to step up, to work through stuff, and to stand up and be who we are. Finally, for 2025, we of course need to mention Mars, which we touched on at the end of 2024. For the first months of 2025, Mars is going to be going backwards and forwards in two areas of your chart. The one is friendships, groups, hopes, ideals, dreams, money earned from work. So all those areas are being activated because Mars is our action planet. Wherever it's traveling, it's going to encourage those areas of our life to be energized. The other area is a more private area where you're going to be dealing with stuff behind closed doors, things that need to come up to be healed. And you're no stranger to this, Virgo. You've been dealing with these kinds of issues for a while, and I'm seeing more of that, wanting to understand your subconscious, wanting to understand family secrets, wanting to explore the world that is not the obvious world that we see with our eyes. Virgo, January 2025. The year begins and interestingly ends both with you at home. Feeling comfortable at home, being at home, or being a situation which is like your home. That's for the first 6, 7, 8 days of the year. And after the 7th or 8th of January, you stepping out more, seeing friends, the energy moves into that house. And there's a lot of activity. It could be friendships, it could be groups. Are you reconnecting with a group? Are you getting involved more with a group? Community, there's something that's brewing there because the energy is there, and there's also going to be a full moon in that house. And that will be on the 13th of the month. And that's a beautiful full moon in Cancer in your house of groups. Also the house where you have your dreams, your hopes for the future. And these could be your highest aspirations. So this full moon is a good time to honor those. And something around the theme of nurturing is going to come up for you. Are you perhaps sharing something that is nurturing with others? Perhaps you're hosting an event, whatever it is. This is a wonderful time of year for you to be with friends, to be with community, to be with family. We also have energy around these more subconscious desires or dreams or hidden material that I'm seeing, because there's some action, especially as the year gets underway, where you're processing very, very deeply. So while you may be out with friends, working with a group, in a community, at the same time, there's also a lot of reflection going on. And remember, you have Jupiter in your house of work all the way, January begins all the way until June 10th. So there's always this emphasis on work at the back of your mind, even when you're relaxing, even if you're on holiday. There's this internal pressure you're feeling to expand or to change. And what's very interesting is that since Pluto moved into Aquarius approximately 2 years ago, but only finally since November of last year, you have been changing jobs or altering your job description. There may have been conflict with superiors at work, or a really deep value clash where you've shifted your job because you did not agree with how certain people in power were handling things. If you're not working, this could have been on a different level, for example, in an organization that you're involved with. But now Pluto is firmly in a place in your chart, the solar 6th house, where there are going to be several shifts at work until you find your place. You're looking for your niche, and you will find it, because Pluto is giving you the energy to be deep, authentic, to find your truth. And sometimes you have to let go of what you thought you wanted to be or do in order to find that. The other promise of Pluto hanging out in this house, and you're going to feel it very, very strongly around the new moon in Aquarius, which is on the 29th of January, because that new moon will enter into your house of health, and it will join Pluto there. Will join the sun there, it will join Mercury there. And it's as if I'm seeing you at the end of January make a commitment on the health front. And it looks like something serious. It looks like you're giving up something in your diet that doesn't agree with you, or you're finally deciding to have an allergy or a difficult situation that doesn't incapacitate you, but it's been bothering you for a while, maybe for a year or two. You're finally deciding to take care of that. Regardless, it's a new moon in Aquarius. This means new beginnings, setting your intentions, and it's in your house of health, and you've got all this help from the other planets there. So turning over a new leaf, deciding to perhaps start a daily or weekly exercise routine, something, especially diet, because for you, Virgo, diet is important. February starts with you feeling positive. Maybe you've given up smoking. Maybe you've given up another bad habit. But whatever the case, something good will come in, because that is how the Plutonian energy works. We have to go down into the underworld in order to receive the beautiful gemstones that are there. February begins with the need for patience. So there's not a whole lot of activity going on, but you do still have that emphasis on health, on well-being, on turning over something that is feeling so good, so healthy. So please keep it up. And if there are delays or a little bit of setback, don't let it faze you. This is just because there's not a lot of forward moving energy in the zodiac at this time. Patience is your watchword. After the 15th, things will slowly begin to pick up speed. And I see you starting to focus on your partner around that time, or perhaps they have a lot of stuff coming up. If you don't have a partner, a good time to look for one. And if you're not interested in that, this could be, I am seeing you stepping out. You're stepping out into the world after being maybe pretty closeted, pretty non-social during parts of January and early February. And then you're coming out, you're being seen, and things are starting to move for you. Once again, Jupiter is still in that house of work, energizing the career, but don't allow yourself to get too many offers or to take on too many projects. Perhaps you find it difficult to say no to things. And this is a time in your life, Virgo, where you do need to learn to say no, because it's as if there's a lot coming onto your plate and we don't want you to be depleted. Jupiter has that tendency. It can make us feel as if we have to say yes to everything, and we end up with an overstuffed plate and our digestion is impaired. So be selective. The work energy is going to shift after June again, and things will be clearer and more streamlined then. Also more joy from work after the middle of the year. Right now you're working quite hard to find your new place. Once again, patience, and learn to discriminate between what you want to say yes to and what you need to say yes to and what you can say no to. The 12th of February is a good time because at that full moon, it's a full moon in Leo, you could very much well receive genuine insights into either your own behavior or the behavior of someone else. And expect the unexpected. Be open, see what comes in. This is also a time of increased spiritual energy if you know how to use it. Then after the 18th, the Sun moves into Pisces. This is your solar 7th house, again to do with relationships that are long-lasting. So if you're looking for love, put yourself out there during Pisces season. And around the 28th of February, there will be that new moon in Pisces in that same area of your chart. Perhaps you're beginning a new relationship. Perhaps you're simply honoring your current relationship or putting emphasis on your partner or being more outgoing, being in the world. Virgo, March is a very important month, not least because eclipse season begins and one of the eclipses is in your sign. And when we have eclipses in our sign, this means it's a year for us to really evolve. Eclipses release energy and they clear things up, they bring things out so that we can move forward with our lives. And March is the time that eclipse season begins. There are going to be 2 eclipses. The first will be a lunar eclipse in your sign, Virgo, and that's going to be on the 14th of the month, give or take a day on either side. So you may be dealing with personal things. The first house is your identity. If the eclipse is on your sun, there's something that needs to come out. And an eclipse does not need to be a negative thing. It is a time to lay low. It's a time to be very aware that you don't make rash decisions around the time of the eclipse. But it can also be a time where something is released, you are unblocked, and the light can then pour forth in a greater way. So take a couple of days around that eclipse to honor yourself, to have some self-time, some self-care. The solar eclipse will be right at the end of the month, and that's taking place at the new moon and it's again in the 8th solar house of your chart, which is to do with those finances, joint finances that we touched on. So pay special attention to finances. If finances are fine, it's the least thing you're worried about. The eclipse in that area of your chart could bring up something that you have to deal with, perhaps something you thought you'd put behind you that's come up to be looked at again, or a helping of someone who is in need. This house deals with the deep things of life. The only thing you ask not to do is make a major decision. Wait a couple of weeks until after the eclipse to sell the property or sign the lease or whatever, and you'll know how to apply this to your own life. Another reason that March is so important for you, Virgo, is it's the first of 3 Mercury retrograde periods. Every year we have 3, so these are natural chill out periods for you. And the first one's going to begin on March 15th, and it will go until April 7th, give or take a day. So this is a time to slow down. If you're feeling overwhelmed, this is because your ruling planet is slowing down and it's asking you to take a bit of a pause. In particular, the 14th and the 15th are going to feel possibly as if information is flooding in, or there's too much communication for you to absorb. But you will see over those few weeks until April 7th, things will settle down and you'll be able to get a lot done. Something that happens to me often during Mercury retrogrades is I need to upgrade my car. I get a flat battery, it needs new tires, something like that. That can happen because Mercury is our communication, but also our travel planet. It rules movement. So we might need to work on our commuting plan during a retrograde, and we recognize that we have to slow down with all the mental work. If you're writing a book, Virgo, take a break to review what you've written during a Mercury retrograde period. It's beneficial and new information will come to light and you'll be so glad you did. So April starts off slowly, and then on the 7th Mercury moves direct and starts ever so slowly to pick up speed. And you're building towards the full moon, which is going to take place on the 13th, together with a big movement of Venus. So it's a double action day, the 13th of April. Make a note of it. This is a day where your and your partner's money could come into the spotlight. There's a lot of emphasis on finances. But if finances are not an issue, we're also dealing with self-worth. How do I feel? What do I value? What does my partner value? And this could be something quite beautiful that I'm seeing at this full moon, because we're in the sign of Libra. Venus is in Libra. There's a lot of give and take. So maybe you're going to be sharing resources in a new way. Maybe you're going to be brokering a great business deal where it's a win-win situation for everybody. Maybe you're simply going to be feeling that you are supported financially by your family, by your life, and that you don't need to worry too much about anything anymore after worrying for a while. So I'm hoping that this full moon brings good things to light, and the most important emphasis is to have that spirit of give and take around this time. Venus movement on the 13th can feel uncomfortable just for a day. So we may not necessarily want to involve ourselves heavily in discussions or debates with people at that full moon. We want to be mindful that there's a ton of energy happening, and that the next day or the day after is going to be that time for a diplomatic discussion, for that give and take, and for that sharing of resources. April 17 is a great day to get your message out. If you have something to share on social media, if you have something to advertise in your business, if you have a message for someone in the family or someone you love, this is a good time for it because you will be very visible. So make the most of that. It's a good day for being loud, being clear. And that brings us to the end of April, which is a new moon in Taurus, in a wonderful house for you, Virgo. Whenever things are going through Taurus, they're good for you because you've got an earth trine going on. So that new moon in Taurus is in your solar 9th house. You're going to feel like planning a trip. Maybe you're going on a trip. Maybe something has come to fruition, finally, to do with that connection you had with someone overseas. There's an international flavor for you, Virgo, at the Taurus full moon. If not travel or internationalism, you could be in a philosophy group. You could decide that this has to be the time where you're going to do a lot more armchair travel and thinking outside the box. Whatever the case, we want you to feel expansive around this new moon and to set your intentions for the time ahead. And that's why it's a good time to start to book travel or to look into travel for the summer ahead. Talking of travel, Virgo, after May 11th is a great time to take a short trip. I see you traveling either for business or perhaps to visit a sibling, especially because there will be a full moon in Scorpio in the sign of your brothers and sisters. So maybe you're taking a trip to see a brother or a sister, or to visit someone who feels like a soul sister or a soul brother. You could also be traveling for work during May because Mercury is entering into the sign of work for you. It's in a very strong place. It's energized. Things start to really take off for you. And there's also going to be a new moon in that house of work for you. So make the most of it. When things are happening in the sign of Gemini, they are exceptionally good for you, Virgo, because they energize your career, your job, your public status, whatever it is that you're doing out in the world. I know that not all of you work formally. Some of you are stay-at-home moms. Some of you do volunteer work. Some of you are retired. But whatever the case, when we speak of planets traveling through Gemini or through your house of work, we're talking about who you are out in the world. And there's often a lot of action at that time. Besides the events of possible travel, action at work during May, the most important planetary event, and this will affect everyone, is the move of Saturn into Aries for the first time. We spoke of it in the introduction. That's taking place around May 26. So mark those few days in your calendar. The 26th, there's a Saturn move. 27th, Mercury into Gemini, new moon in Gemini. It's going to feel like a couple of days of adjustment, and you want to take it. Saturn is a slow-moving planet, and it has a heavy impact on our bodies. And for you, it's moving into the 8th house of the occult, deeper studies. It's important to take note of what happens at this time, because Saturn will be in Aries until September. It's going to dip back into your house of relationships. And only after February 2026 will Saturn firmly enter Aries, giving you that ability to go deep. Many people invest money when Saturn is traveling through this area of their charts. But for now, I want you to just simply take note what's going on at the end of May. Make a note of it. It's important. The other thing about this house of work that we've been talking of, Virgo, is it can represent one of your parents. So you may be having something to deal with one of the parents. That may be the reason you're traveling, or you could simply be focused on them and give them your attention at this time. They need it. June is an important month for you, Virgo, and the first dates to make a note of are around the 10th and 11th of June, and you could feel this energy even a few days before. Around the 10th, Jupiter is going to move into Cancer. This is a big day. It's moving into your house of goals, of friendships, of groups, and will be there for the year. So I'm seeing for you over this time renewed understanding of what it means to work as part of a group and to feel this sense of joy. Jupiter is about joy, and it's very, very comfortable in the sign of Cancer, where it can grow and expand. So I'm seeing new friendships come in, and this vigorous understanding that it's great. I can be part of a group. I don't have to do everything on my own, especially in terms of my work. You will feel helped. You will feel supported. The day after that, around the 11th of June, there's a full moon in the house of the home. Something new is beginning. We could also have a visit from a parent, or we're dealing with a parent at this time, and we want to honor that energy. The second interesting and important thing for June is around the 18th. The action planet is going to move into your sign. And after the 18th, you are definitely going to feel a change in everything, increased vitality, feeling more like yourself. Because we've had that action planet traveling through two different parts of your chart all the way since November of 2024. So when this finally happens and Mars moves into Virgo, it's a good thing for you. Coming into your first house, if Virgo is your ascendant, bringing you positive energy for action. You feel sure now, you know what to do, and you can take action accordingly. The final new moon, which we need to look at, is going to be on the 25th. And that's going to be again in that same house of hopes and dreams and friendships. And this is a very special time around June 25th, Virgo, because you're going to have the Sun, the Moon, and Jupiter all in this house, energizing your goals, making you feel positive about moving forward with the year, and bringing this sense of abundance. Mars continues in Virgo for all of July, bringing that energy, keeping you going. And there's a lovely help coming into your house of work around the 5th of July. Venus is going to enter there, so bringing small blessings to that job that you're working on. Some money coming in. Venus rules money, Venus rules beauty. So there's lots to look forward to in that area. Also, because around the 8th of July is when Uranus is going to enter into that house of work for you, Virgo. So something is energized. If you're not working, this can also refer to a spiritual energy which enters into the life in a stronger way, because this is a cardinal house for you, Virgo. It's a strong place in your chart, and you're going to start to feel a change. I want you to take a note of what's happening on those days, the week of July 8th. Uranus will be in that sign of Gemini all the way until November of 2025. It's then going to dip back into Taurus, which is your 9th solar house, travel, internationalism. You've probably done a lot of travel in 2024. And then finally in April of 2026, it will remain in that public house of yours all the way until 2033. So lots of time to bring on these changes that have to do with technology, possibly a more spiritual way of living, connecting with others, and so on. The other important thing about July is that we have a Mercury retrograde period again. This is the second one for the year, and it's going to come after the full moon, which will be on the 10th and take place in a lovely area of your chart to do with children, to do with pleasure, to do with creativity. So make the most of that full moon. It's also in an earth sign, and you should feel grounded and positive at that time. The Mercury retrograde station will begin on the 18th. So that's your time to slow down, to be mindful. It's also going to be taking place in a private part of your chart. So you want to be aware that it's a good time to pull back a little bit. Don't over schedule your calendar around the 18th onwards. Also because the new moon on the 24th of July is going to be in that quiet private place. So if you're setting intentions, they're probably going to be deeply personal intentions at this time. And you want to be having a little space around you to breathe, to think, to journal. August begins with some relaxation time, especially the first week. Venus enters a beautiful place of friendship for you. So hang out with friends, go to the beach, go to the forest, whatever works for you. It's a really lovely time. Around the 7th, there's a shift. Resources come into the spotlight again. And that's because the action planet will be in that house for the second part of August. If not resources, as always, your values, self-worth. How do you feel at this time? Is it time for a makeover? Do you want to invest in yourself and start to exercise more? All these kinds of things might come up, especially because your ruling planet Mercury is retrograde. You have time to reflect. You may be going back. Retrograde is always about going back to a diet, going back to an exercise routine, going back to review something that has come up again. And don't be shy to do this. It's coming up because it needs your attention. That retrograde period is going to go all the way until the 11th of the month. So an important day of adjustment for you. Take it easy on the 11th. Don't overschedule because things may be moving very, very slowly. We need to take note that while Mercury is retrograde, on the 9th of August, there will be a full moon in your house of health. So that's a great time. Check your diet, check your digestion, check your whatever works for you. This is a good time for a health check, Virgo. Circulation is important when we have a lunation in Aquarius. Is everything moving in your body? Activities like Qigong or yoga, they work on getting the lymph to flow, and that can help you with overall health. Final things to note in August are the entry of the sun into your sign, Virgo. So a very happy birthday. That's around the 22nd, and we get to have a new beginning, And on the 23rd, there is a special new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. And why is this so special? Because it's the first of 2 Virgo new moons. And this is telling me that there's a lot going on with your identity at this time. You really are starting something new. These 2 new moons in Virgo are really going to help you. They're also going to help you with getting more streamlined and organized, because there may be one area of your life that is in complete and utter chaos, and it really needs your attention, and you've been putting it off for too long. So these new moons are going to kickstart order coming out of the chaos. Action planet continues through your house of money and resources until the 22nd of September. And the only caveat here is don't spend money as quickly as you earn it. Be mindful of saving during this time. It could be a very productive month. The other interesting thing about September is we have a beautiful window between the 3rd and the 18th of the month, where your ruling planet Mercury is in your sign. It's really strong. And this is the best time to buy that new cell phone, upgrade the computer, get a new car. Anything that Mercury rules is favored at this time. So plan ahead for the year. And when we get a new lease on a car or upgrade hardware, software, phones at this time, they tend to work. We don't have as many issues. We don't have as many returns. The other thing about September is we have the second eclipse season of the year. And there will be a partial solar eclipse, which is a new moon in Virgo in your sign again. So you reference back to that August 23rd new moon. And this one will be on the 21st of the month. So again, when it's a solar eclipse, we're looking at what needs to be seen in the self. What's going on with your identity? And you're obviously in a process of change because the planets are reflecting that. No decisions during that period. Use the time to check in to see what's needed. Before that, there's going to be a full moon in Pisces, and that's going to highlight your relationship with other people in your world. How much time do you give to yourself? How much time do you give to others? So that may come up for you around the Pisces full moon, which will be on the 7th of September. And that is also a lunar eclipse. So lots of activity in September for you, Virgo. And around those 2 eclipses, don't overschedule, keep it light. After the 22nd, we're going to have the action move from the house of finances into the house of siblings, our neighborhood, our community. So a wonderful time to plan a workshop or to hook up with your neighbors, host a party, whatever works for you, but there'll be energy in that house. The other thing that the 3rd house deals with is learning. It's back to school time. Maybe you are going back to school, going back for a postgraduate degree, going for a first degree, or just starting to sign up for a course and learn something that you've always wanted to learn. So for most of October, those same themes are in the spotlight. Community, learning, neighborhood, and also siblings, especially because your ruling planet is also going to enter into that house. And if siblings don't apply, we could be dealing with general communication. And because it's a sign of Scorpio, you do need to be mindful that you are not critical of someone that you care about at this time. The full moon on the 6th of October, Virgo, is going to be in a relatively quiet place in your chart. It's in the sign of Aries, so you may simply feel like doing something on your own. Or some of those things we spoke about earlier, joint finances and so on, that could come to fruition at this time, and you may find yourself dealing with those things during this week. The other positive thing of note for October, Virgo, is the entry of Venus into your house of money. Very good, bringing positive blessings, maybe a small bonus, maybe a gift from somebody. Look out for that. And there will also be a new moon in that same house at the end of the month. That'll be around the 21st. So something has been resolved, and now there is a positive energy also to do with self-worth, this area. Maybe you're feeling good about yourself, and there is much to celebrate at this time. As November gets underway, there are two areas of focus for you, Virgo. The one is the home. Your ruling planet comes into the home. You're giving yourself a break. You feel like hosting. You feel like having people over. You're relaxing. You're putting some of the pressure off yourself for work. And this is a good thing. The other thing I'm seeing around early November is a beautiful full moon that takes place in Taurus. Again, earth to earth. It's a positive time for you, and I see you traveling possibly, or if you're relaxing at home, you're doing armchair travel. Maybe you're going somewhere that feels like home, or returning to your country of origin for a short visit. Or possibly, again, good connections with foreigners, with people abroad, with internationalism. And the other thing that full moon could highlight would be spirituality or religion. Maybe you're having a ceremony at this time that invokes all of these things. Taurus is also the sign of feasting and food. So make the most of that full moon. We also have the third and final Mercury retrograde period in November, and that's a good thing for you, Virgo, because you're ready for a break now. So around November 9th, Mercury is going to start to move retrograde. Make a note in your calendar. It's a day of adjustment. This is not the day you want to take a long trip. You can take a trip during Mercury retrograde. It's fine. But on the day that Mercury moves retrograde or direct, there's usually travel snaffness. Things build up. They decide to do road work on the way to the airport and so on. So make a note, that's the 9th of November. Give or take a day on either side depending on your time zone. We also have Jupiter stationing retrograde around the 10th. So a double reason not to be rushing about on those 2 days. It's a great time to cuddle up by a fire with a good book and leave the world to its own chaos. You'll have a new moon in Scorpio in your house of neighborhood, community, siblings. So take some time to relax with those that are near and dear to you. You'll also have and really feel that shift of the sun into Sagittarius around the 22nd, because your home becomes bathed in light at that time. Your home receives the light of the sun, wherever that home may be. You will feel that wish to be at home or to cozy on up, all the way until Mercury stations direct again on the 29th of November. So right near the end of the month. So really you've got an excuse to kick off those heels and relax a little bit during the month of November. During December, even though Mercury is now direct, which is you're picking up speed, there's still a lot of emphasis on the home. You're still in the home. Venus is entering that area of your chart, so there's a lot of beauty, there's a lot of joy. You do need to be mindful around the 4th, because that is going to be the full moon in your house of work. So you might have to straddle a little bit, juggling in December between home and work. And you're no stranger to that, Virgo. You do it all the time. It just may come in the spotlight now. Also, one of your parents could be in the spotlight again. The final thing for December is we're going to have around the 16th, the action planet Mars will move into your house of romance, children, creative projects such as writing a book or whatever you give birth to. So that means that most of the second part of December and on into the first few weeks of January, those themes are energized. Maybe your children are bringing you a lot of joy. Maybe they're returning back home to you. Possibly you have a creative project that you're working on and you finally have some time to actually work on it. So there's a lot of joy involved. And if you're looking for romance, this is a wonderful time also to start a new romance. And if romance is the last thing on your mind, think of comfort, think of pleasure. This house rules all those kinds of things. Maybe for you, that's just having a moment to watch a good movie with those you love. And the year ends on a positive note, a new moon in the house of the home. So this new moon can indicate a beautiful new beginning. The year is coming to an end, but new things are emerging and beginning for you. And I wish that for you, Virgo, a beautiful year, a strong year, preparing for 2026. May all good things be with you. Please leave a comment, like and subscribe so we can keep the channel going. And I will see you next time.